What's up everybody, Brad here with the Money Dad channel. In this video I'm going to give you my stock market analysis for the month of December and going forward. I'm going to give you kind of a short-term look. I'm going to give you my long-term look. We're going to talk about what is moving the market today, what moved the market last week, what's going to move the market I think going forward. We're going to take a look at the small caps, the big caps, and kind of where I would put my money if I was putting my money into the stock market right now. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about what first is moving the market today, and why, right? So we've got this Omicron, I'm probably saying that wrong, COVID variant. So last week, the stock market, let me show you the candle from last Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. This big red candle, right? This is Friday, the day after Thanksgiving on the S&P 500. We lost 2.5% last Friday because this new COVID variant came out, right? The market discovered this COVID variant. They got scared. They thought COVID was coming back. Today, we got an article this morning on CNBC from the doctor who first spotted the new variant. And she's saying that the symptoms so far have been extremely mild, right? So that's super good news. That means that, well, what we can glean from that is we hope that this strain, this new variant, is not going to be as big a deal as we thought this past Friday when the market was kind of tanking from this news, right? So that's why we're seeing this this bounce back. The S&P 500 right now at the time of this recording is up 1%. So we're getting some of those losses back, not all the way, but we're getting there. So I think this is really good news going forward. As long as this kind of stays the sentiment that this new strain is just not going to be that big of a deal, then I think that should be pretty good for the stock market. On top of that, we're going into, or actually we're already in the middle of the best season of the year for the stock market, right? I'm talking about stock market seasonality. You just type that into Google and you get all these nice little pictures. This first one right here is really good. It shows you on average how much the stock market makes every month. And if you look at December right here, I mean, it is towards the top, right? We're talking about almost 1.5% over the course of the month. And that doesn't sound like much, but we're talking about every day averaged out, right? Every day that we win, every day that we lose, and average all those out. And if you make 1.5% over the course of the month, that's a really good month, because think about that times 12 months, right? 12 times 1.5 is what, 18% in a year. So if you could do 1.5% every month, you'd have an 18% year. That is a fantastic year for averages, right? Stock market averages, indexes. That's obviously not the case because December is one of the best months of the year at 1.5%. So we're heading into December. We're heading into one of the best months of the year. That is kind of a check in the box for the bulls there. This article suggesting that this new variant might not be that big a deal. The symptoms might be pretty mild. That's a check in the box for the bulls right there. Okay, so I'm leaning bullish for this month. I'm heavily invested. I'm not planning on taking a lot of my money out of the stock market anytime soon. Now let's talk about where we should be putting our money. Right? Because there's a lot of different places to put it in the stock market. So let's take a look at the S&P 500 first. You can see there's just been this huge trajectory up over, I mean, forever, really. Even if we go back into the weekly chart and the monthly chart, you can see that the sentiment, the bias is up always, right? You're going to have these little pullbacks here and there, but every pullback in history has always been a buying opportunity. So the S&P looks fine. There's not really a whole lot of chart patterns to glean from this, though. So we'll move on to the next chart pattern, where I have a pretty long looking kind of channel, an upward channel on this Dow Jones U.S. Completion Total Stock Market Index. So the DWCPF, that's almost every single stock in the stock market in this index, all right? And it's tracking basically the entire stock market. So you can see there's a slight bias upwards, but we have been tracking sideways a lot for the last year. So I mean, this chart goes all the way back to the beginning of the year. every candlestick you see on the screen is one day, one trading day, and there's a lot of candlesticks on there, right? So been tracking pretty far sideways. So if we've been tracking sideways for the entire stock market, for the most part, for the entire year, but the S&P 500 is largely up, how is that possible, right? How is the S&P 500 going up while the entire stock market is going sideways? Well, that's because the S&P 500 tracks the top 500 profitable companies in the U.S., right? So we're talking about bigger companies, profitable companies, less risky companies. So when you look at the small cap index, for example, IWM, right, the Russell 2000 small caps, we're talking about smaller companies, maybe not profitable, more risky. This chart is also tracking sideways, right? This channel has been going on since almost the beginning of 2021, tracking almost perfectly sideways. We had a breakout and then it broke back down into the channel, right? So another chart that shows us that the more risky stocks have not done as well, right? They've been tracking sideways while the big 500 have been going up. All right, now let's look at QQQ. QQQ is the NASDAQ top 100, so the 100 biggest companies in the NASDAQ. This chart looks like it's going straight up, right? So this makes sense with the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is the top 500 profitable companies in the United States. The QQQ is the NASDAQ 100, the top 100 largest companies in the NASDAQ, and both of them are going straight up, while the total stock market is going slightly up, mostly sideways, and small caps have been going straight sideways, right? So these charts, to me, they tell me, right, large caps has been where the money is getting made, right? You're making your money in the large caps, you're not making money in small caps. Now, if you had a great tip on one particular small cap, you may have done very well with your small cap investments over 2021, but I'm talking about averaged out here. The entire small cap market has tracked sideways, while the entire large cap market has tracked up, right? So this seems to tell me big caps, large companies, that's just where the money is being made these days, right? So if I had to put my money somewhere, probably be in large caps. Now that said, there is a tiny little chart pattern shaping up on the QQQ that I want to keep my eye on. It could turn bearish quickly. There is a little bump right here, right? This is at the beginning of November, and then in the middle of November you have this peak, right? This all-time high on the QQQ. Pretty sure this is the all-time high because we're just going straight up. Yeah, so that's the all-time high. And we've tracked down since then, right? On Friday we had this big red. Now, when we start to track back up, assuming we track back up from here, we need to make sure we get over this little bump over here, okay? Because if we don't, if we come up to that point and then start to track back down, that's going to make what is going to look like a head and shoulders pattern, which is bearish, right? You would have something like a left shoulder, a head, a right shoulder, and then that would project that we're going to track down from there. Not saying that's going to happen, but that's something that I'm keeping my eye on, okay? Other than that, though, the charts for the large caps look very good. The charts for the small caps and medium caps look like they're just kind of just tracking sideways, right? There's not a whole lot going on there. In particular, if we want to get specific on some of the largest cap companies in the world, you know, I don't see a whole lot on Facebook's chart right now. Apple has this super long channel that has been trending since the middle of 2020. The thing with Apple is it's kind of bumping its head up against the top of that channel right now. So I actually have a good chunk of money in Apple myself, and I took some off the table last week when we started bumping our heads up against the top of that channel, just because, you know, we're at all-time highs. You know, it doesn't hurt to take some money off the table when you're at all-time highs. You know, get some get some cash in that account ready to buy in again if there is a pullback or another opportunity in a different stock. But for this one, we're at the top of the channel. I could see this thing starting to retrace back into the channel, and maybe then I'll look to buy Apple again. I still have a good chunk of money in Apple. Not saying I'm totally divested from it. I still have a lot of money in it. I just took some off the table. Okay, and then the same thing with Amazon, I think was the other one, is also in this long-term channel where we're at the top of the channel. I could see us, kind of starting to head back down into the channel a little bit. The other large cap companies look pretty good to me, honestly. Tesla is a extremely popular one. It looks like we might consolidate for a little while on this one. It looks like we had this big bull run in October and early November, and then we retraced and we're kind of bouncing around, and it looks like we might end up making this giant bull flag where we just kind of bounce around $1,000 to $1,100 range for a while, right? Until we make what is going to look like maybe like a bull pennant or something like that. That's just a total guess. I don't have a whole lot to go on that right now, but we have the early makings of a bull pennant. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to keep an eye on that one for another month or so. If it continues to consolidate, we might see a strong breakout of that bull pennant towards the end of that kind of triangle, towards the end of that. Okay, so that's just a couple of companies that I'm keeping an eye on in the large cap sector. But overall, the point of this video is place to be for the month of December at least, and going forward until something on those charts changes, right? Unless we see a breakout of this channel, of this small cap channel, then I'm going to keep putting my money into the large caps, because that chart just keeps going straight up. So why wouldn't I want to be in that, right? So that's what I got for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I do stock market analysis, stock chart pattern analysis. I do predictions based off of these stock chart patterns that I see on these charts, and I'm having some fun with this YouTube thing. So thanks for sticking around towards the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.